If you've started a blog, you've probably quickly realized it's not an easy task. All of a sudden, you're a writer, a content creator, an SEO specialist, a marketer, a designer, and the list goes on and on. So why do bloggers put in the effort? Because the return on investment for blogging can be massive. A blog that I started in, 2013 still generates so much traffic to the point that companies reach out to me to host certain blogs on my website, and it's still generating massive traffic to my TPT store that I haven't really touched except recently. I'm starting to update stuff. I still generate a really healthy income. The main traffic are the blog and Pinterest. So if you're ready to eliminate the guesswork, then this video is for you. Here's all the things to do before and after you publish a blog. Now, just because you have 5 amazing ideas doesn't mean they should all go in one blog post. Your blog should have a clear and simple goal where the entire flow of the blog leads them to hopefully a desired action. Now, to get the reader to read your post, you're going to want a catchy title. My suggestion here is to use a keyword with a phrasing that persuades them to want to click through. Think about it like a subject line for an email. If it's not persuasive and enticing enough, then teachers won't want to click to open to then read the email. Your content could be the most well-written blog post ever, but if they don't click, because there's nothing that catches their eye, then they won't ever know. Also going to want to add keywords within the post, not spammy, in a very natural, genuine way. And one way to also help your SEO ranking is to make sure that keyword is in the title as well. The second thing you want to do is you want to deep link past posts. So whenever I'm starting to write a blog post and I know the clear topic that it's going to be, I look in my archive of blogs and I pull out the blogs that are relevant to that blog article. One way to also think about this is if somebody was reading your blog post that you're currently writing, which blog post do you already have that if they were reading this one, they would also like this other one? Not only is this going to be helpful for your reader and a better user experience, it's going to be better for your SEO because it's going to keep that reader on your site for longer, which is going to alert Google that, hey, this site is really valuable to people that are searching for these particular things. So make sure that you're adding relevant content and weaving it naturally in the blog post where it makes sense. The third thing you want to do is you want to organize your blog post into smaller sections with subheadings. Nobody wants to feel like they're reading a thesis. And honestly, people pretty much scan your blogs. I know. You're probably thinking, well, why am I spending time on blogs if people are just gonna scan? You can write very skimmable posts. You want to make sure that if someone was quickly skimming through, could they get to the key points of the blog easily? And that means you have subheadings that really explains what they get out of it. The subheadings also get them to want to read the full blog post more since they decide, is this even worth my time? When you see a huge chunk of text, that is your signal to figure out how can I break this apart with bullet points, with numbers, maybe add an infographic, or add something to that space that will make it feel a little more digestible for the reader to understand. If you're not creating an easily scannable post, then people are just gonna click out, and unfortunately they're probably gonna go to your competitors instead, which means you missed out on potential money that you could be making. Try not to include no more than 5 to 6 lines as a rule of thumb. Anything more, and we've got to cut it down. The next thing you're going to want to do is create branded imagery for your blog. Branding is a way for people to see your work and know it's you without even including your name. So it's a really powerful marketing technique. Not only is it fun and cute for some that may not be fully bought in, it's also really easy for you to replicate, which means you're going to be able to move faster. Scroll through my blog, and I'll link it down below, and you'll notice that most of the pictures follow a similar framework, a similar style. That means it's easier for me to find the images that I need. I'm using the same fonts every single time, so I'm not having to recreate the wheel, and I have a structure and framework to each image that I create. Doing this is how I'm able to scale content creation as a team of one. An SEO tip is when you upload the images to your blog, you want to make sure that the keyword of the file name that you want to rank for is in the image. I know, it's crazy, but that's because Google image search, you have the potential to rank in that area as well. Super beneficial down the line is you want to make sure your blog post is SEO friendly. That means you have a keyword that you want to rank for. Now, there are definitely free and paid resources out there, and some can be pretty expensive. I'm not going to get into SEO strategy in this blog. Know that a simple way is to make sure that you have a keyword you want to rank for, which is when people type in what words do you want to make sure your blog post pops up. That should be trickled in at least one heading. It should be in your title. It should be in your file names. It should be in your conclusion paragraph. It should be 1 to 2 times weaved within the post. You want to make sure that it's all natural and it's like fits within the context of the post you're writing. But this is an easy way to make sure that when Google is indexing your content, they know that it goes in this category. Now there's other aspects that's gonna make it rank, which is readability time, bounce rate. There is a free plugin called Yoast SEO that you can use to get your feet wet in the SEO world. Proofread and audit your posts for readability. Have you ever gone back to look at something that you've written and you're like, what on earth was I thinking? Yes, exactly. So one of my biggest recommendations for this is when you're done writing, leave it. Go do something else, make lunch, make dinner, take a break, come back the next day. I know you're gonna tell me I don't have time, but I promise when you look at it with a set of fresh eyes, it's going to feel much better. You also want to make sure your post is as readable as possible, which means that when Google's indexing it, if it has too many complex words, too many long sentences, there's one of my favorite websites that I put my content in is called Hemingway, and it's free and you can see how it's written and how to break it up. Now, if you have the Yoast SEO plugin that I mentioned, it will also tell you how to make sure that you're in an active voice versus a passive voice and all that fun stuff to make sure your blog is as readable as it can be. Let's talk about what to do after you finish publishing. After you finally did the thing, now what? Keep in mind, there's a lot of things you can do. You need to do what works best for you and your system. And if your system is just doing 1 to 2 things right now because that's all the time mama's got, that's totally fine. Get into the habit, build your strategy and your framework, and then add a little more down the line, okay? Don't get overwhelmed when I share this. After you're done publishing your post, you wanna make sure you share it out. So for me, the first thing I do is I pin the blog post to Pinterest. And I have a board specifically called My Brand Blog Post. So then I always have at least one board that it can go to, and then if someone just wants to see my blog post, they can go there. And then I have other sub boards that I share. So I typically share to like 5 or 6 boards with that one piece of content. My biggest form of traffic is Pinterest to my TPT store, so I definitely try to keep active. I use Tailwind and I pin about 8 times a day. Because I have a system in Airtable, which by the way, I love Airtable to organize everything. I could pin a month's worth of content in probably an hour. But if I'm creating new posts, and new images and stuff, then it'll probably take me about 2 hours, maybe sometimes 2.5, to pin all those pins to Pinterest. And that's because I've created a system that I've started early on. So, step 1, pin to Pinterest. The next thing you wanna do is you wanna share out your content on your additional channels in the way that feels the most natural. People always assume that they're being followed by one person on every single platform, but everyone has their favorite form of medium, right? So for instance, I wrote this video that you're watching as a blog post, and I've also given this as Instagram tips before. And now finally, months later, and by months later, I mean like at least 7 months later, I'm recording a video about this topic. So I've already done the hard work. So I'm recycling this content in a different way. What I'm going to do as soon as this is posted is I'm going to share this video in my email list. I'm going to share it on Instagram stories to go watch. I'm going to share it as an excerpt clip so then they can see a taste of it on Instagram. So I'm recycling that content, so that's 2, excuse me. And then 3 is I'm also sharing the content itself on the other channel so people know what's coming. People don't know what you don't share, and don't be afraid to share because they're following you because they really like your content. Now, you also wanna look at past older blog posts And you want to link your new content to your old blog post. And the reason why is because the old blog post has been around for a while, right? So Google has been indexing that content for a while. And so because they have, when you backlink, it's like, you know how we did deep backlinking, right? Where we did older content to new content. You're basically doing the opposite. So you're gonna take your newer content, you're gonna put it in the older content because it's the same. It just creates a little circle, spiral, circus, if you will, of people making sure that they find the content that's relevant to the topic. I talked about recycling already. I wanna make sure I touch on it again. For example, I'm gonna record this video. Well, I am recording this video. And then I'm gonna take the YouTube link and I'm gonna embed it in the blog post that I already have about this topic. This means if somebody finds my blog post and they decide they wanna watch the video, hey, hi. And then if not, they can still read the blog post. Your ideas are so good and they don't have to live on one medium. And your ideas are so good that you don't have to do it all in one swoop and you don't have to share all of it at one time. This video right now, what to do before and after publishing, could technically be 2 videos. And I almost thought about doing that. And then I just got lazy and was like, I'm just so glad I'm filming. So we're just gonna do one. But I could potentially do 2 videos, have 2 pieces of content, and then I could share one thing to do before publishing as one tip on Instagram stories. So you can really start to slice and dice your content in different ways. Again, you're hearing all these ideas, they may not all work for you. That's okay. Like, look how long I said it took me to get to filming this video. The goal is to give you the tools and the strategies to empower you to do what you feel is best for your business. You may not action any of them right now, but when the time comes, you're gonna remember these tips. I hope it was so helpful for you to dive deep with me all about what to do before and after publishing. If you want even more support, I encourage you to snag my blogging ebook all about blogging from head to toe. I manage Nearpod and Flocabulary's blog. I built out that entire strategy from scratch all the way until people didn't even think the blog was gonna drive traffic, and then it was a lead generating driver, and then we had contractors and people were wanting their stuff on the blog. It felt so good and it took a lot of years of perfecting. So I packaged that all up for you, even when it comes to how to work with a contractor, and it's in this ebook. I'm gonna link it down below. Thanks so much for watching this video. I'm so glad that you and I are back to YouTubing again, and let me know what questions you have for me about blogging. I'll see you in the next video.